Years from now, box scores and faded memories might overwhelmingly suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles' 55-23 victory in the 2024 NFC Championship game was a walkover, a speed bump, on their way to Super Bowl 59. But make no mistake, the ousted Washington Commanders, as they did throughout this season, fought relentlessly and stayed within striking distance until a pivotal sequence early in the fourth quarter. The Eagles were leading 34-23, but driving after a fumble by Commanders running back Austin Eckler and ultimately propelled to the Washington 1-yard line when Saquon Barkley's 22-yard gallop ended just shy of the goal line. Most of the nearly 70,000 in attendance at Lincoln Financial Field might have assumed a patented Philly tush-push on the next play would put the game in the bag. It didn't quite go down that way. What followed next was what Eagles' second-team All-Pro left tackle Jordan Mailata described as mental warfare. "That's all that was," Mailata said. "Mental warfare." That's because the Commanders took a different approach for trying to defend a play the Eagles have made all but unstoppable on short yardage situations, particularly on fourth downs and/or at the goal line in recent seasons. Over the next 5 snaps, almost, one a carry by Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts for no gain, the ball inched incrementally closer to pay dirt. Washington penalized twice for being offsides and twice for encroachment. Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen and linebacker Frankie Louvu flagged twice apiece. "It was hilarious," Eagles right guard Mekhi Becton said. "I've never seen anything like that." At one point, Becton said, a Commander's defensive lineman was yelling, "Come on, run the play, run the play." Becton declined to reveal the Washington player's identity. Becton added the physicality of the Eagles' front can push the opposition to do crazy things. "You can always tell when somebody is about to give up," Becton said. "We know when that time is coming." The infractions were clearly intentional attempts to disrupt the Eagles. Hurts contacted once as Louvu leapt over both lines. Louvu said he was shooting his shot and that he'd planned trying to time his hurdle over the crouched lineman in front of him with the snap of the ball. "If I make it, I make it. But if not, bounce back," Louvu said. But the third time, the refs told me I'm going to get a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't know what that was about, but I guess they wanted them to score. So I just kind of stopped from there, and that's how it played out. Indeed, referee Sean Hochuli announced to the crowd that the officials would award a touchdown to the Eagles should the Commanders' antics, or tactics, depending on one's perspective, continue. "I guess I need to refresh myself on the rulebook," linebacker Bobby Wagner said. "I didn't know they could just award the touchdown," Hochuli explained. "Simply put, a team can't commit multiple fouls in an effort to prevent the score," he said in a post-game pool report. "So, Louvu jumped the ball a couple of times. That was when the warning came in. Again, if it's meant to prevent a score, we can essentially award the score. The play clock prevents the offense from using a hard count too many times," Hochuli said. "With the defense, since we deem it as an effort to prevent the score, a repeated act, that's where the potential for awarding the score comes in," he said. Wagner said he tried to explain to the refs that some Eagles were lining up offsides, from his perspective. "You gotta take a shot. You gotta do something," he said. "It's a great play. It's a great concept. Great play. Hard to stop. If I was them, I would run it too. We as a defense know they're going to run it. We stopped it a couple times. And a couple times we jumped off sides. We just can't get in that position where they run that play." Like Wagner, D lineman Clelin Ferrell had no idea officials could award points. "But the Commanders' medal at the goal line highlighted the team's character," he said. "What was that, 5 plays back-to-back?" Ferrell said. "That's the character of your team. On the 1-yard line, we're losing and guys still fighting. It don't matter." And it might have worked, had the Eagles not maintained their own discipline. "A lot of trash talk on their side of the ball," said Mailata. "Jalen did a tremendous job there to keep us cool, calm, collected, just because of all the extra stuff they were doing, all the extra chatter. But Hurts just kept changing up the cadence on them, and we had to stay locked in. Mental side of that, kind of from my perspective, kind of was wearing them down a lot. Craziest phase I've ever been a part of. Lane Johnson, the Eagles' perennial Pro Bowl right tackle, basically couldn't blame the Commanders for trying something different in their desperation. Hey, this is a big game. Can't holding anything back. They played hard. It's the reason why they're in this game, said Johnson. They were trying to stop it. But ultimately, Washington couldn't. Hurts tunneled in on the sixth play, all from the 1-yard line or closer, for his third rushing touchdown of the night, one that boosted the Eagles' lead to 41-23 and effectively put the game out of reach. Said Philadelphia Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens. They had a lot of damn emotion, and they were talking a lot. But we executed. Another week, another huge day for Saquon Barkley. The Eagles' running back took just one play from scrimmage to rock the Commanders' defense when he scampered to the latest installment of his 2024 season highlight reel as he rushed for a 60-yard touchdown on Philadelphia's first possession. The run came after a promising first drive for the visitors, who put 3 points on the board after making 2 successful fourth-down conversions. But once the Eagles had the lead, they did not look back. Barkley only needed 15 carries to run for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns, with his mere presence giving the Washington defense the spooks, as the attention they gave the running back allowed Philadelphia's other playmakers to excel in a brilliantly balanced performance. Washington quarterback Jayden Daniels was looking to cap his sensational season with the first-ever appearance by a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl, and despite the lopsided final outcome, the occasion was not too big for him. A string of third and fourth down conversations on the opening drive placed an early seed of doubt in the heads of the home fans. Vic Fangio's defense game plan was masterful, however, meaning Daniels had to deal with constant pressure up front. More often than not, he was able to extend plays, but he would eventually be ground down, resulting in stalled drives and turnovers. Make no mistake, Daniels can hold his head high despite the defeat, and it's now over to the Washington staff to build around their rookie phenom and help him reach the next level. Washington went into Sunday's encounter having not given up any turnovers during their playoff run so far, but they were to cough the ball up 4 times at Lincoln Financial Field, and with the Eagles' offense playing like this, it was game over. The Eagles were ruthless in their ability to capitalize on these turnovers, scoring 28 points in the process, while big pass interference and third down penalties came at crucial parts of the game and killed any Washington momentum. A game that saw a remarkable 7 rushing touchdowns for the Eagles would indicate that it was all about the ground game. But Jalen Hurts was also able to have his best passing performance of the playoffs so far. After throwing for a combined 259 yards in the Eagles' first 2 playoff games, Hurts completed 20 of 28 passes for 246 yards and a touchdown, with A.J. Brown coming to life with 6 receptions for 98 yards. Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo will have his work cut in 2 weeks' time. As the Philadelphia Eagles headed into their bye week, they were 2-2. They got blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 4. At the end of September, there was more talk about head coach Nick Sirianni possibly being fired and what was wrong with the Eagles than any hope of a special season. Since the end of September, the Eagles have lost just once and are on their way to Super Bowl LIX. The Eagles' 15th win in their past 16 tries was a 55-23 victory over the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game, the record for most points ever scored in a conference title game. Jayden Daniels did his best, completing 29 of 48 passes for 255 yards and 2 total touchdowns, but fell just short of becoming the first rookie quarterback to lead his team to a Super Bowl. Instead, the Commanders self-destructed with ill-timed penalties and also 4 turnovers that led to 4 Eagles touchdowns. Give Philadelphia credit for taking advantage. It was a complete Eagles performance that showed why they're heading to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts had his best game of the postseason, rushing for 3 touchdowns and throwing for more than 200 yards for the first time this postseason, finishing 20 of 28 for 246 yards. Saquon Barkley was great again, with a big 60-yard touchdown on his first touch and 118 yards rushing with 3 scores total. Philadelphia's defense gave up some yards and points, but made enough big plays to help out the offense. It was the first time since the 1940 NFL Championship game won 73-0 by the Chicago Bears, in which Washington allowed 6 rushing touchdowns in a game. The Eagles have won Super Bowl championship, which came 7 years ago over the New England Patriots. 2 seasons ago, they were tied in the final minutes against the Kansas City Chiefs before losing. The way the Eagles have played over the past 4 months, they have a good shot at making up for that loss to the Chiefs and getting that second Lombardi trophy. The Commanders couldn't afford huge mistakes with turnovers in Philadelphia. In the first half, they made 2. After Barkley broke a 60-yard touchdown run on the Eagles' first offensive play, Commanders receiver Diami Brown had the ball punched out by Eagles All-Pro linebacker Zach Bond. The Eagles recovered in Washington territory and had a short drive capped by Barkley's second touchdown run to take a 14-3 lead. The Commanders stuck in the game, getting a touchdown from Terry McLaurin to cut Philly's lead to 14-12. But the Eagles drove for a touchdown in the final 2 minutes of the half, and then it really got bad. Washington's Jeremy McNichols fumbled away the kickoff return, an unnecessary roughness penalty on cornerback Mike Sainristil for hitting Barkley out of bounds kept Philadelphia's drive alive, and with 39 seconds left in the half, A.J. Brown scored. That put the Eagles ahead, 27-12. The Commanders hadn't played that poorly. They were keeping drives alive with key third and fourth down conversions. Other than Barkley's first run, they did a good job containing him in the first half. A field goal in the final seconds of the half helped, but giving up touchdown drives of 48 and 24 yards off turnovers was a brutal turn of events. Without those two mistakes, they probably wouldn't have trailed 27-15 at halftime. The Commanders are still an off-season or two away from having a roster like the other three teams in the conference championship round. They still had a chance Sunday because of Daniels. But Daniels' teammates weren't up to the task. Another fumble from Austin Eckler late in the third quarter at about midfield led to another short field for an Eagles touchdown drive. Hurts got in on a tush push, and the Eagles led 41-23. That score came after multiple offsides penalties on Washington at the goal line that caused the referee to warn the Commanders that if it continued, the officials could award the Eagles a touchdown. The Eagles are too good to give points to. The Commanders gave them 3 touchdowns off of fumbles. As much as Daniels tried to keep his team in the game, he couldn't overcome that big of a hole. The Eagles eventually turned it into a blowout in the fourth quarter. Barkley's third touchdown of the game, which put the Eagles ahead 48-23, allowed Eagles fans to start their celebration early. Will Shipley scored the final touchdown on a 2-yard run with a little over 3 minutes left. The Eagles started the season slowly, and it looked like a continuation of last season's collapse. But they always had the talent to get on a long winning streak and look like the best team in the NFL. If they can play one more game like they did Sunday, this season that started with so many questions could end up with a championship.